The dance has begun. Super Episode 4 of House of the Dragon is out, and we are finally progressing to the point to where everything is taking action. Everything is moving into place. The dragons are set loose. The war has truly begun. So if you've been wondering these last 3 episodes, like, hey, this is taking way too long. I am getting bored. Why are we just sitting around talking? Blah, blah, blah. First off, how can you say that and at the same time say that you liked Game of Thrones? That was like 3/4 of Game of Thrones. Just sitting around talking. I will agree with you though. You have a show with dragons. Let me see some dragons and how we have dragons. So the episode begins with Daemon back over at Harrenhal as he walks into the room, what looks to be the throne room of King's Landing with the throne of the iron with the swords, Iron Throne. Oh my god, I can't. Iron Throne, and he sees young Rhaenyra sitting on it again. She's speaking in High Valyrian. He's like, "Hey, I can't hear you. What are you saying? What are you saying?" Walks up to her. She's still continuously speaking in High Valyrian, and then she utters the phrase, "You hate me, or you are only mad at me because your brother chose me, loved me more than he loved you." And then Daemon proceeds to chop her head off, and he's freaking out. Basically, he's like, "What have I done? What's going on?" And then, of course, when he wakes up and realizes that it was just a dream, Daemon's losing it. All right, Daemon slowly is losing it. This place is taking him, it's messing with his mind, and we find out a little bit about that in just a little bit, thanks to Alice Rivers when we see her in a minute. But Daemon clearly is not in a good space right now. Something at Harrenhal is making him lose his mind. Then we go back over to King's Landing. Aegon is annoyed, aggravated that Daemon takes Harrenhal. He wants Harrenhal. We should go back for Harrenhal. And Aemon's like, no. Kristen Cole's marching out to this one, and then he's going to move to this one, and then he's going to inevitably move to Rook's Rest. And they're like, why? Why are we doing this? These are small kingdoms. These are nothing kingdoms. Why is Kristen Cole going out over here? And Aemon's pretty much like, we take care of all these places, we'll effectively cut off Dragonstone by land. This war will not be won with dragons and dragons alone. And he's right. Honestly, he is right. This is very methodical and technical warfare. You won't win it solely just because of this. I mean, you have a higher chance because you have a dragon, but you want to cut off the enemy supply lines. You want to cut off enemy escape routes. You want to do everything, and they're right. They want to play it this way, but Aegon is still entirely aggravated about Daemon having Harrenhal, and he's complaining. And Lord Larys is like, it doesn't matter that Daemon has Harrenhal anyway. I control the money. I control the funds. I control everything for that castle. It's not what it used to be. It's not anything to worry about, my lord. It's just not worry about it. And we can just ignore it. And Aegon's like, I need to know these things. I need to know these things if we're going to have these kinds of battles and do this war. But his council kind of isn't even taking anything that Aegon has to say with any type of thought or validation. And then Aemon starts questioning him in Old Valyrian, speaking very calm and smoothly and elegant and flowing, and asks Aegon, you got anything? All right, since my lord, you want to say something, you got anything to say? Aegon tries to reply in a very broken, very stuttering Valyrian, and you can see the council's like, oh, yeah. Even we don't speak that language, but we know that was probably not what you think you said. Later on, we see that the council's back together, and without Aemon this time, because Aemon has officially left and he's gone off to meet up with Kristen Cole. The council's sitting around talking, and Aegon Finch is like, you bore me. You bore me. Leaves the room, storms off. He's not having it with his council anymore. And he nearly runs into his room, runs back to his room and finds his mother there. We'll get to that conversation. Because Alicent, let's jump over to Alicent real fast. Alicent asks the Maester, we see the Maester coming in at the beginning of the episode, coming with a small brew, asking like, oh yeah, here you go for your friend, my queen, blah, blah, make sure you do all this and stuff. The Maester knows, and the Maester's not stupid. He's just playing along. He's like, okay, yeah, whatever, cool. Alicent drinks it. It's basically a concoction they use back in King's Landing to neutralize pregnancy, because apparently she thinks she's pregnant or knows she's pregnant with Kristen Cole's baby. And you know what? I think she should have to suffer and have that baby, and for everyone to go, how are you having babies? What the heck? What the fuck? Miss Queen? What? I think they should have that happen. I think they should have let it happen. But hey, we know whatever. So she gets her to the queen. She's starting to question about her decision to put Aegon on the throne. She asked the maester if her husband had ever mentioned anything about his decision with putting Aegon in there, or if there was anything how the maester ever took Viserys's words. But the maester was always like, yeah, he kind of much just kept to himself about that kind of stuff, so I don't really know. And later on we see in the same episode, Larys is talking to her, sees her bring out all the books and all the stuff about old Valyria. He's like, oh, I didn't know you shared the same interest as your husband in history. And she's like, I guess. Basically, she's like, well, I guess. I think Larys knows that she's looking into it based on something that she found out. But he plays it off fine. And again, if he doesn't know, it's just Larys being Larys. And he is the king, he's the man that has he has the whispers of the kingdom. So I'm sure he's heard some things here and there. He also saw the concoction, so he kind of has an idea as well. Anyway, off of that, we have Rhaenys and Corlys basically confronting each other. Well, it's more like Rhaena confronting Corlys, because we see her arrive at the cove where he's rebuilding his ship, sees the young man that saved her husband from the sea, and realizes that they pretty much look the same. And it dawns on her, like, pretty sure this is my husband's bastard. And it's sad that we kind of just phrase it like that, but that's just how they phrase it, They're like, this is my husband's bastard. I can absolutely tell. She confronts him about it. Well, he shows up, and then she confronts him about it, and she's like, I know, Corlys, I know. That's no fault of him. It's the fault of you doing what you did. So they have that entire conversation, so she's fully aware about it. And I think she's more upset that Corlys still has his son, a son, whereas Rhaenys doesn't have any of her children anymore. And it is sad. Rhaenys. God, woman, you were so great. I'm just tore up about it. Anyway, okay, I gotta get to that. Otherwise, I'm gonna delve into the fact that about her ending. Anyway, she's telling Corlys that, hey, I have to go back to King's Land. I have to go back to Dragonstone. Baela's called me there. The council is gonna basically go after her and Jaehaerys because they're young. They don't really know. Queen's still gone. They're like, what the why and everything. And we go over to the council. They're still basically going at it with young Jaehaerys and Baela. They're trying to do their best. Right? They're asking, have your father sent any word about his time at Harrenhal? You should have taken out Kristen Cole when you had the chance. All this stuff. Going after these young kids who don't have that experience the way these older gentlemen do. And I'm not saying all of them on the table are highly experienced, but they have more experience dealing with politics and war than, of course, Jaehaerys and Baela. Rhaena's doing her best to hold it together, run it, be the one that focuses the ship, as they phrased it, a rudderless ship, and she's trying to, I'm like, no, I'm doing the best I can. And Corlys shows up, and Corlys showing up has them all kind of snap into place, has them go, oh, my bad, oh, dang, which I think is kind of fucked up, because Corlys pretty much has been absent since half of last season, I think. And then he just shows up, and they immediately basically stop talking, they stop talking back. They listen to what Rhaenys has to say. Typical man stuff of that old world. What it is. I mean, I think they were just afraid to listen to Rhaenys for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why they wouldn't take Rhaenys with more consideration, considering they listened to Rhaenyra no problem. But Corlys comes in, and they're like, oh, okay, sure. Eventually, Rhaenyra does show back up, and they're like, Jaehaerys, her son kind of goes at her in this, and I like that he went after her because he was fed up with it. He's fed up. He was like, you keep disappearing, you don't tell anyone what. And I'm glad he went after her. That, and she finally opens up. She's like, I wanted to try to avoid this war. I wanted to try sending out the dragons if I didn't have a reason to send out the dragons. And inevitably, she's like, I didn't have that choice. In the end, I don't have that choice. I earned all this peace from my father, and I want to make sure, before I set it aflame, I made the right decision. And with that, she's like, no, we are sending out the dragons. And of course, Jaehaerys is like, send me. And she's like, no. Rhaenyra's like, I'm going to go. And they're like, no. Finally, Rhaenyra's like, send me. I have the biggest dragon in your little group. My dragon has the most experience with combat. Send me out to combat. And Rhaenyra reluctantly agrees. And she's sending Rhaena over to Rook's Rest, because that's where Kristen Cole was heading. And they're heading over there purposely. And actually, it was, they don't say in the episode, but it was set up to try to clearly was set up to force Rhaenyra to come out. They were trying to do it because Rook Rest is basically right across the way from Dragonstone, where she's at. So clearly it was the plan to, if they get too close, they take all these places, not just because these castles are homes and lands to people on Rhaenyra's council, but it was clear to try to probably draw her out and draw her from Dragonstone on her dragon. Like, clearly it was an attempt, because again, they don't say it, but when Rhaena does show up there to help out or try to destroy Kristen Cole's army, he seems a little aggravated, because so it was clearly meant for Rhaenyra, not Rhaena. Yeah, I'm gonna save that bit for the last. Jump back over real fast to the moment with Aegon. The way we can get to the end of the episode. Like I said, a lot happened in this episode, but the most important stuff was everything I've kind of discussed so far. When Aegon he stormed off from the council and he walked back into his room and he finds his mother, they start having a conversation, right? And he's showing his frustration. He's showing his annoyance. He's showing his attitude and his anger. And she's like, why are you mad now? What is it? What are you mad for? And he's like, my council don't listen to me. They don't listen to anything I have to say. They don't consort with me. They don't consult with me. They don't heed my words. Nothing. I'm just basically invisible to them. And she didn't hold back. And honestly, this was good too. This was good because Aegon, all of her children, but especially Aegon, she never ever basically treated the way they should have been treated. She treated them like little infant babies and then lashed out at them, but she lashed out at them incorrectly when they were children. Now she's lashing out at him in a way that is befitting for an adult. And she basically talks back with him and she's like, because you're not really fit to be the person to be leading. She's like, do you have any ideas? He of course doesn't come up with anything. She's like, you remove your grandfather as hand, someone who very, very well versed for that position, someone that really knew what he was doing, but you don't have what your dad has, what your dad had. And your dad learned all that through his time. When we put you on the throne, we expected you to be quiet, listen to those around you, those with better experience, because those men earn their seats on the council. They know what they're doing. Well, you think they know what they're doing, right? Anyway, she's like, they know what they're doing. They know what they're saying. They know what to take into consideration with everything across the board, which was good stuff because Aegon needed to hear that. He needed to have that realization that just because you're the king doesn't mean you can just push people around like that, especially, and your dumb decisions as the king can come back to haunt you, and you should take heed and listen to those around you. Again, you don't have to particularly agree with what they have to say, but you should listen to every angle, and that's basically what this council is supposed to be for, to give the king every possible angle regarding situations. But Aegon's never cared about that. Aegon's always gone in with, I'm the king, I do what I want. It reminds me a lot of Joffrey from Game of Thrones. I'm the king, I do what I want. That's how bad kings fall apart. And then lastly, he goes, well, mother, what should I do then? What do you suggest I do? And she simply said, just sit there, don't do a damn thing. Good on you, Alicent. I'll give you the first praise for that. First praise for that, Alicent, for finally telling your son how you should have been telling him since he got put on the throne, since you usurped him anyway, and now you're reading through all the old history from your late husband because you're like, oh, I've messed up. I've messed up. So about time you finally stopped being this, no, I'm in the right person. No, you realize you messed up. You realize you put a person on the throne that's really not fit for the throne. out of the two, Aemon's a better fit for the throne. Good on you. Finally, Aslan, you're pulling your britches up and actually calling out your idiotic firstborn. Now, let's get over to the ending of this episode. The ending of this episode takes place at Rook Rest, as Criston Cole's army has inevitably reached Rook's Rest and is set on attacking it. Now, we know part of the reason behind this was they're cutting off mainland routes to Dragonstones. Take off all these places that can have a mainland effect towards Dragonstone, basically leaving them stranded. And then on top of it, each of these places is the home or the kingdom of someone that's on Rhaenyra's council. So it was kind of like a double whammy. From a war standpoint, clever. By the way, Criston Cole, just again showing how petty and childish and down bad he still is for Rhaenyra. This man takes every opportunity to call her the Horror Queen. Never says never says any other term when we're talking about Rhaenyra. Because the other shot we get of Criston Cole is he has attacked another kingdom. Someone, I'll put it up on the screen. Attacks this kingdom, defeats him, kills him. The Lord of the Land was like, Criston Cole's like, bend the knee to Aegon, or if you swear fealty to the Horror Queen, we'll kill you. Dude can't even just false queen, something. No, he always has to put whore, bitch, hoe. He always has to put those type of adjectives in front of Rhaenyra. Look, Criston Cole may have been a better character in the book, but so far, Show Criston is just a petty, butthurt individual who's mad that Rhaenyra did not want to run away with him. Literally, that's how I'm seeing it, because outside of that particular reason, he's got no reason to really go after Rhaenyra the way he does. He can agree with Aegon. He can say that she's not fit for the throne. He can go with that whole narrative, but the way he basically always talks about Rhaenyra, it's a man that got his advances rejected, and now he's heard about it. So, no, he's a petty, childish, insecure little man. Fuck Criston Cole. Anyway, but when he was over at that other landing with that other kingdom, the Lord was like calling him kings. He calls him Kingsmaker because he's basically forcing him, destroying all these countries to forcibly basically accept Aegon as the king. Most of these kingdoms that swear fealty to Rhaenyra are doing it because of obligation and because they swore it to their father as well. Hey, whatever. So Criston Cole kills the Lord, and eventually when Rhaenyra made it back to her council, the guy that was with her, that was his son. He finds out that the kingdom and the family has been taken out, and he's upset, but he's sworn his fealty to Rhaenyra, and they were like, your dad upheld his oath. So obviously the guy's probably a little upset, but back, medieval type stuff. They accept it, roll with it, and we move forward. Back over to Rook's Rest now. Cole unleashes the group, unleashes the whole army to go, well, not the whole army, starts having them attack, and right now it's just man versus man type of conflict. Back and forth, back and forth. They're like, Rook Rest won't be able, it's not really all that heavily guarded, it's not really all that military base, so it won't be too hard. But we see, after a certain amount of time, Rhaena shows up. Rhaena shows up on Meleys, and she starts wiping out Criston's army. And now he's seeing like, whoa, this is what dragons can do. This is how easy dragons can wipe out stuff. Oh, it kind of gets to him a little bit, right? But then he's like, and then you have Sir Gawain over there, and he's like, hey, do you have a plan for this now? Like, do you have a plan for this? And he's like, yeah, I got a plan. And we see that Aemond and Vhagar were waiting off in the forest, not too far off, for something like this to happen. And then as they go to fly off, they hear another dragon screech. Like, what is going on? Look up, and here comes Aegon on Sunfire, flying towards over there. You just see that frustration on Aemond. She's like, what the hell is he doing? Oh, this moron. And he calms Vhagar down because Vhagar's like, let's go. And they calm Vhagar down for a brief amount of time. Then you hear Sir Gawain's like, what was that? What was that other dragon? They're like, that's the king's here. And of course, Criston was like, what? Even Criston was like, that fucking moron. Why? Sunfire stood no chance. Meleys is just easily handling her. He rips her up. It's It's kind of sad. Poor Sunfire got messed up through this fight. I feel bad for Sunfire in this. She gets so messed up from this fight. And it's Aegon's fault because once we get a clip like this of them showing happiness and, you know, like having that not pet, but having that, you know, that connection between these two, a human and dragon. And she was just so happy to see her rider. She's like, oh, we're going to go out and ride. And this is what he takes her into. We're on fire. Then Vhagar jumps in. Aemon's like, yep, okay, let's go. So Vhagar jumps in, and now the fight. You'd think the fight would be with Aegon and Aemon versus Rhaenys and Rhaenys. It's more so that Aemon's like, I don't really care. I'm going to go after Rhaenys. But if my brother gets caught in the crossfire, my brother gets caught in the crossfire. And we see that because they get tangled up, and Vhagar, Aegon's like, finally, yes. And then Aemon just lets out Vhagar to cover them in flames. And he's like, what the fuck? And Aegon's freaking out. And poor Sunfire falls and crashes. And that's the last we see of Aegon till the very end of this episode. But through all of them fighting, they're just laying waste to the ground. The dragons are falling and crashing and sending massive shockwaves across just because of the wind from their wings. And they keep fighting. They keep going at it. And Rhaenys is seeing everything happening too, right? But she never runs off. She has a chance to run away too. Like there's a scene where she's flying towards the castle out over the open sea, and they're like, oh, she could easily escape. She can easily fly out, say, hey, this is a situation, blah, blah, blah. But she just like, nope, I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep my ground. And again, this is a woman hurt because of the truth she's found out. I wish it wouldn't have gone out this way. But she stands her ground, and she gets freaking cheap shotted by Vhagar. How does a dragon that big manage to hide that effectively? Like, I can kind of maybe understand it with hiding in the clouds during a thunderstorm, and how Aemon and Vhagar killed Lucerys. Like, I can understand that, right? The thunderstorm is blocking out the noise flaps of the wings from Vhagar. Vhagar is hiding in the clouds, the super dark clouds. I can see that. But how does Vhagar hide in bright open sunlight under, basically behind the castle? Like, she's huge, and Vhagar can move so fast and so quick while being so big. It's just like, how? Just how? But yeah, Aemon and Vhagar wait for her to fly above the castle and cheap shot her, basically. Sucker punched her, cheap shot her, flew up from underneath, grabbed Meleys by the neck, and basically crushes her neck until she dies. And you see Meleys look back at Rhaenys, and you see that connection with that sadness, and Rhaenys has just accepted it. She knows her dragon's dead, and you see the dragon basically eventually run out of air and just die, and she accepts it. She just fully accepts it as Meleys falls back to the ground, crashes into the castle, completely wiping it out, and Rhaenys and Meleys are done. The red dragon and the queen that never were. They're gone. 4 episodes in, and they're gone. I don't know if that happens that fast in the books, but that's actually sad. I liked her character, and I'm sad to see her go moving forward, and it upsets me. And I'm not gonna like cry or nothing about it, but I really liked her character, and this death is gonna easily affect Rhaenyra moving forward. I know it will, because she was someone that Rhaenyra leaned on so much through all these ordeals. But with her gone, I don't know how Rhaenyra is going to act moving forward. But hopefully Rhaenyra can pull enough and stand her ground and stand up well enough to survive. As for Aegon, we see him... Oh, wait. After that crash, a black screen pop back up, we have Kristen Cole coming to, because he got knocked out when the dragons were crashing down and everything, and he's looking around. There's smoke and fumes and everything flying, and he walks up to this guy, this other soldier being knelt down holding the flag, and he's like, we have to go find the king. The king's around here somewhere. And he touches the knight, and the knight crumbles and falls over because the knight was burnt to a crisp while in his armor. And Kristen Cole's like, what have I done? Because even though he did not expect the type of carnage fighting with dragons would cause, and he's seeing it that his own man got caught in the crossfire. Not saying that Aegon or even Aemon intended to go after them, but just through fighting it happening, Maelys just unloaded on them, and he just sees how easy dragons can lay waste to armies, just how easy they can do it, and he's just like, oh man, what do we do now? But he runs off to find the king. He starts yelling for it, sees Aemon over there. He's like, Aemon, where's the king? And Aemon points to him, and Sunfire and Hamper just crashed land into this. Sunfire is breathing heavily. She's in severe damage. The king messed up and mangled underneath there. You can see that he definitely took some scarring damage, probably a lot of fire damage. They're messed up, and the episode ends in a way that makes you think, did the king die? Did the king just die? And well, you'd think that, spoilers real fast, you'd think that if the preview for the next episode didn't basically tell you, no, he's all right. No, he survives through that, and of course the book readers know that. Then I got spoiled through TikTok on that, but up until like TikToks and then the preview, I was like, did Aegon just die? Did he just die? No, he didn't. But he's definitely tore up from this fight, and it's his own fault, really. It absolutely is. He didn't have to go out. He did this all because he didn't want to be seen as weak, and he got tired of being told what he can and can't do, or not even like told what he can and can't do. Basically, people undermining him and looking down on him and seeing him as weak. Right? He basically let his ego drive him, and it not only cost him being normal and living a normal life, as I'm sure he's severely messed up in the bone situation for falling that far, but also his dragon's been tore up. I'm hoping Sunfire survives that too. Well, no, I've been spoiled on that too. But Sunfire got tore up too. Everything is just falling apart. Everything just went to hell for that guy. And honestly, he got what he deserved. Sunfire didn't deserve that, but he got what he deserved, honestly, in my opinion. This episode was well done. This episode moved at a good pace. Things didn't linger too long. We're finally past really all the slow, drawn out, emotional, sit down, let's talk stuff. Things are moving in place. The war has begun. The dragons have been set free. Deaths have happened. People are losing sides already. The king's all messed up. The Dance of the Dragons is in full effect now, and I cannot wait to see how this season handles it, and I can't wait to see the decision that they end up making in the end. Again, don't know if they're going to stick fully to the book. Probably going to stick somewhat to the books. If they change it, and they change it for the better, great. If they stick to the books, great. Whatever it is. I've seen some people complaining even on my own videos that it's already different from the books too much and blah blah, and they're hating on the whatever. I'm hooked. I'm in. I can't wait to see next week's episode. This was a great, fantastic episode. Team Black, man. Team Black. All the way. Oh yeah, and fuck Kristen Cole.